As Washington continues to debate U.S.-Mexico border policy, roughly 10,000 unaccompanied migrant children remain in U.S. custody, languishing in facilities around the country.
The number of children being held in each immigrant shelter has soared over the past few years.
Many of the children come into federal custody having suffered a great deal of trauma to begin with, and so they're essentially fragile. They're children who are ill-equipped to endure yet more trauma.
Carlos Holguin and other lawyers say the Trump administration isn't meeting some of the basic standards that are required of them when detaining minors.
There's been concern about how long many of these children have been kept at these facilities.
Standards that Holguin himself helped establish years ago when he began investigating the detention of children in the 1980s.
Every year, thousands of children on their way to join families in the U.S. are apprehended by the Immigration Service.
A detention center for illegal aliens, children are mixed in with adults. The conditions here are prison-like, and security is tight.
We went in and started looking into some of the facilities in which the INS was keeping the children, and we were appalled. These were makeshift detention facilities.
This one is a converted roadside motel.
And they put up some chain link and some concertina wire so that people couldn't get out. The minors had no education. There was no recreation for them, and they were not permitted any visitation.
I want to get out of here, this 6-year-old is saying. I don't like it here.
Our feeling was that the children were being used as bait to capture their parents.
The Immigration Service District Director here has decided he will release undocumented children only to the custody of their parents.
The problem is that the parents themselves are often illegal aliens, afraid to claim their children.
And we saw that population as swelling, and that it would have gotten much larger if something weren't done to try to secure their release.
Holguin and a group of attorneys sued the government, objecting to the conditions of detention and the policies surrounding the children's release. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court before the two sides agreed in 1997 to what's known as the Flores Settlement, named for one of the plaintiffs, Jenny Flores.
The government needs to place the children in a licensed facility. Normally it's within 72 hours to 5 days. And it needs to release children to available custodians without unnecessary delay. It formalized the way the federal government was going to treat the population, and the settlement continues to be in effect.
But 17 years later, Holguin watched as the Obama administration began detaining children who arrived with their families for long periods of time.
Behind the chain-link fence and just beyond the dusty dirt field sits the largest immigrant family detention center in the United States.
But since the surge of immigrants, most children have been spending days, weeks, or months in these detention centers.
The policy of the administration at that point was detention without possibility of release. None of these family detention centers were licensed to care for dependent children. They were essentially prisons.
So Holguin and his team challenged the government again, and won. A federal judge found that children who arrived with their families were also protected by Flores and could not be held indefinitely. But the court did allow for some flexibility in how long the kids could be held.
The court basically said you have far more minors than the settlement contemplated, and so probably 20 days is going to be okay. And up until very recently, they were essentially releasing most of these families within that period. So it wasn't a perfect world, but it wasn't anything like what the administration is proposing now.
The crisis on our border right now, as we speak, is the sole result of Democrat laws and...
Throughout his presidency, Trump has railed against what he says are the loopholes that allow migrants to be released from detention.
It's called catch and release.
And the administration has tried time and again to expand its powers of detention.
They said they had to separate children because they couldn't hold them with their parents in detention longer than 20 days.
From separating families to challenging the Flores settlement in court, the Trump administration's efforts have repeatedly been stymied. So in the fall, they proposed new regulations that would essentially replace Flores altogether.
The Trump administration announced a new rule today that would allow immigrant children to be held in detention with their parents indefinitely.
The new regulations are still under review. Meanwhile, with a large population of unaccompanied children in government custody, Holguin says the potential for mistreatment is high.
The average child who is in immigration-related custody is treated much better than they were in the 80s. That being said, there certainly is a move to undo some of the gains that we've seen for this population over the years. It's an expansion of the population. It's the lengthening of the detention, this continuum of trauma where children will break down over time. And then you have some real atrocities that seem to be happening that would never have occurred in the past.
Very disturbing allegations against some facilities housing detained migrant children, including drugging and abuse.
I don't remember any child ever reporting that I was wrestled to the ground and injected.
For Holguin and his team, along with other lawyers around the country, the fight against the government's detention practices continues.
Some facilities housing unaccompanied migrant children are doing so without a license.
The government is going to decide what they're going to do with these children, not in the best interest of the children, but simply what's in best interest of the administration's current approach to immigration and border control.